Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers, and we've got a first run in an exciting new shoe that joins the Saucony Endorphin lineup. This is the Endorphin Azura, a non-plated super foam packing daily trainer that's built to be springy, bouncy, cushioned, fast and fun. A kind of sweet spot daily that balances energy and protection. It landed at Run Testers HQ in the last few days. We've already been out logging some early miles to bring you our first impressions, so let's get into it. Quick details first then, and the Endorphin Azura packs 40 mils in the heel, 32 in the forefoot for an 8 mil drop. That's a bigger stack, but the same drop as the Speed 5. It weighs in 8.8 ounces or 250 grams in my UK men's 8.5. It's a US 9.5 test shoe. That is virtually the same as the Speed 5. On price, it's coming in at £140 or $150 in the US. So it's going to go toe-to-toe with the likes of the Adidas EVO SL, and is a good chunk cheaper than its sibling, the Speed 5. Let's give you a quick shoe whip round as well of this new model, starting with the midsole, which uses the same premium Power Run PB foam that you get in the Speed 5 and the Endorphin Pro 5. That runs full length with a bigger stack right across the shoe than the Speed 5. There is no plate here though. You do get Saucony's familiar speed roll geometry with quite a steep forefoot rocker. The foam is quite compressive but springs back fast. There's a moderate stiffness to the midsole unit. There's a bit of flexibility in there. You're going to get sort of more flexibility than a Speed 5. Up top, the Azura has mesh uppers that are quite breathable. There's some reinforcements here and more so towards the back of the shoe to add a bit of structure and support. The heel collars are medium padding with a good level of structure in here. There's also this little overlay that almost feels like a clip, which kind of helps with the heel hold and the sort of structure to it. The tongues are quite thin but nicely gusseted, so they offer a good wrap. When you flip them over, you've got Saucony's XT900 rubber. Again, with coverage that you'll find familiar from the Endorphin lineup, where you get a decent covering in the forefoot and you get the kind of two main pads on the heel impact zones.
So when it comes to fit of the Saucony Endorphin Azura, I have my normal running shoe size here, which is a UK 9, US 10. I've got a good fit with the shoe, plenty of room around the toes, good hold around the heel and midfoot. I'm someone who's generally in between sizes, between a UK 8.5 and a UK 9, and with the Endorphin Azura, I'd say it fits true to size in that I've got quite a roomy fit. Could maybe go half a size down and have a bit of a tighter fit, but I prefer to have the extra room in a shoe like this that I'd plan to do lots of general daily training in. So yeah, fit was all good for me, no concerns. I would stick to your normal running shoe size.
Let's give you a quick word on fit then, and I have got a UK 8.5, US 9.5, which would be my regular running shoe size, and particularly my regular running shoe size in Saucony shoes. Been running in Saucony shoes for a long time in that size, and I would describe the step-in comfort here as really good. These do feel quite natural on the foot the minute you put them on. I get on really well with the kind of Saucony lasts, the way they kind of shape around my feet, and this is true here of this shoe as well. The other thing I will say, they are a roomy fit. You've got a really kind of nice amount of clearance along the end of the toe box. There is a lot of sort of space up front into this forefoot, and everything here is kind of secure but not restrictive. On the foot, I do feel like there is plenty of space, and there may be an argument if you want a bit more of a dialed in fit to go half a size down, but I really quite like that extra room that you get. I've got good lockdown from the midfoot here and the tongues. I'm not entirely in love with the sort of plastic sort of feel of this sort of tongue padding. Doesn't feel quite as comfy as some other shoes, but the tongues sort of wrap and hold really nicely with that gusset. And the heel collars, so with their medium padding, also hold really nicely. This kickback here just holds, gives a bit of security but doesn't rub. And yeah, there's some really good sort of heel hold, good hold in the midfoot. I'd say lots and lots of space into the kind of forefoot area here. And I think that's probably good for the sort of long mileage, so I would recommend going true to size. So I've just finished my first run in the Saucony Azura. This is a brand new shoe that sits in the Endorphin lineup alongside the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5 and the Endorphin Pro 4, those shoes, the Endorphin Elite as well. And what I understand the shoe is designed for is to be like a high energy, nicely cushioned, non-plated daily training shoe. So you know, if you want to do lots of mileage in a shoe without a plate in it in your training, but have something that's going to give you a lot of high energy, this shoe should fulfill that. I've just done 6 miles in it. I did 5 miles as a progression run, starting at kind of 8-minute miles, moving up to, I think my last one was around just lower than 6:40, and then I did my final mile as a nice easy, just to see how they cope when I drop back to kind of 9-minute miles. And for that 45 or so minutes I've been running in these shoes, I have to say I really like them. You know, I'm actually a big fan of the way that Saucony shoes feel underfoot in general. I'm a big fan of the Speed 5. This is basically offering quite similar energy overall. It's got, you know, a lot of nice rebound coming back from that big stack of midsole foam, but there's a little bit of extra softness. It takes out a little bit of the stiffness, and if you didn't like the kind of stiffness that sometimes comes in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5 and you wanted something that was just having a slightly more cushioned edge, but it's still giving you that kind of high energy that's still going to bounce you out of each footstep, still going to support training across a range of paces, then I think this Azura is going to fit that kind of bill. And actually I think what might be interesting here is this will let Saucony stick with the Speed 5 without having to shift each generation, where they're trying to sort of work out whether it should be softer or should it be firmer, and people sort of complain both ways if they move it, and this shoe maybe will offer them a different franchise that they can then tweak or deliver, you know, that shoe to sit alongside the Endorphin Speed 5 that comes in a little bit softer, and leave the Speed 5 to be a little bit more snappy, a little bit more potent, a little bit more immediate in the return, because this just drops off a little bit. But it is a big energy shoe. It really coped well across that range of paces. It feels comfortable on the foot. It's got a very familiar kind of Saucony upper feel. The instant stepping comfort is quite good. It does feel a bit bigger. I think it might be, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but sometimes you put the shoes on and you feel like it's a bit longer, there's a bit more shoe on the foot. It feels nice and stable though. It was really controlled. It's got quite a sharp kind of rocker at the forefoot, and when I was running you do feel like you're being pushed over onto that rocker quite quickly, but I found it really quite smooth, and I really enjoyed the energy that I got from it on a very, very cold day here in London. Grip held up really well. We've got some pretty sort of wet, and well, it's not wet, but it's sort of leafy, sort of slippy, slick conditions out here because no one picks up the leaves in London anymore. And it coped with all of that, twists and turns, you know, weaving in and out of people here. And it feels light on the foot. It held pretty well. Overall, I think the early signs of this shoe are that it's really good. My big question is going to be, when I put a Speed 5 on again and go and compare these two, do we need them both? Is it doing something that's different enough?
So for my first run in the Saucony Endorphin Azura, I headed out for a mostly pretty easy 10k today with a couple of 1k pickups down to kind of towards 345, 350 pace, just to test out the shoe and also to test out my lungs, because I've had a small cold over the past few days. I was just trying to get moving again and see how it felt to do any kind of running, plus a couple of slightly faster sections. So yeah, mostly quite relaxed, and the shoe ticked over really nicely. I was pretty excited about the shoe because it really hits the sweet spot of what I really like in running shoes. It's pretty affordable for one, but you've got a pretty simple design here with a good foam in the midsole, and overall quite a lightweight design, and a shoe that should be very capable at a really wide range of paces. Obviously been a big fan of the Endorphin Speed since the original version of that, and a version of that without a plate in it and a slightly higher stack sounded very good to me. And you do get those classic elements of the Endorphin line with the Azura on the run. The way it rolls through from heel to toe very smoothly with that speed roll rocker was certainly noticeable at easy and faster paces, and it felt very easy to suddenly pick up the pace in this shoe. Like, it's not the flat out lightest shoe out there, but it is very light on the foot, and it turns over very quickly when you do want to start running a bit quicker. It feels very good at a range of paces actually. It's always very smooth, and there's a very pleasant, easy feeling to how you can just start to turn over a bit quickly when you fancy it. It's also pretty stable, I would say, for a nice lightweight shoe like this, and that's going to be important when it's competing with shoes like the EVO SL, which is obviously a very good shoe in this kind of category, but maybe has a little bit of a problem with stability for some people. I'd say the foam you have here in Power Run PB, obviously it's a bit long in the tooth these days, been around for a while. Like, it's not, I'd say, the flat out best foam you can get even at this kind of price point. Things like the Lightstrike Pro and the EVO SL, or the nitro infused TPU foam in the Velocity Nitro 4 maybe have a bit more pop to them, a bit of a lighter feel, a bit more squish as well, squish and bounce. This is a slightly firmer feeling you get with Power Run PB, but it is still comfortable, does roll through. I would expect it to soften up a bit over time as well. It's quite dense material, so I do think it works well in a shoe of this type to have Power Run PB in there. It's just, we know now Saucony has introduced a couple of foams since then. It's a bit of a shame we don't see maybe a little bit of Incredi Run in this shoe as well, but yeah, it does do the job in this shoe for sure. When I got back from that easy 10k, I also put the Endorphin Speed 5 on one foot and then had the Azura on the other for a short run, just to test out the differences between them, and do notice the softer feel on the Azura for sure, and also the extra foam under the forefoot, because it is a slightly higher stack shoe than the Endorphin Speed, and I think that will be important for long runs potentially, like especially if you're trying to maintain a decent speed, because sometimes with the Endorphin Speed 5 I do get a slightly harsh feeling snapping through onto it, as it does have the plate in there, and it's not the highest stack shoe out there compared to lots of shoes on the market these days, the Endorphin Speed 5. So I think maybe the Azura will give you a little bit more comfort under that forefoot, and it's certainly nice and cushy at the heel as well.
let's give you a quick summary then, a quick kind of first impressions sum up. And yeah, I mean, all the hallmarks of another good shoe from Saucony that definitely is going to sit well alongside the Speed 5. I think it's got an exciting ride in the midsole. It's giving lots of energy. It's giving lots of protection. Feels light on the foot. I think it could be a really good training option for the marathon. That's what I'm getting from it at the moment. I think it's going to have sort of some racing potential as well for some people at certain paces. You know, it felt reliable and like it would protect you if you were moving slower when I came in that very slow mile at the end. But it definitely has upper pace potential as well. So yeah, my first impressions, fresh out of the box, 6 miles done, is that this Azura for me is a positive shoe. I mean, you'll know from the channel that I'm generally I quite get on well with the geometry and the ride and the fit and all of that of Saucony shoes, and it feels like a familiar story here.
So early verdict on the Endorphin Azura. It looks like a really good shoe. Looks like it's going to be a very capable all-round daily trainer. You've got a nice blend of lightness, speed, but also stability and comfort here, all at a pretty good price. Like I say, it really hits a sweet spot for me in terms of price and performance, the kind of shoe I really like. And it's a shoe I can see myself doing a lot of miles in, a lot of different types of runs in, and looking forward to doing all those runs ahead of our full review, and obviously we'll have a far more in-depth take on the shoe. There's a little bit of me that does feel that Saucony could have released this shoe 2 or 3 years ago, and it could have really been a wow shoe on the market, because it had all these materials. It had the Endorphin Speed as a very popular shoe out there already, and a plateless version of that at this price point I think could have been really competitive. And actually, as it is coming out now, it's hitting an area where there's unbelievably strong competition. I think from the Adidas EVO SL straight up is, it's one of, if not the best shoe on the market, which is even cheaper than this. The Puma Velocity Nitro 4 is a little bit cheaper as well, and another one of the best shoes on the market. There's also New Balance Rebel V5, the Hoka Max 6. There's a lot of competition with these lightweight, simple, speedy but comfortable shoes, and now the Endorphin Azura has got to compete with all of those, and especially something like the EVO SL, it's hard to beat out a shoe that is that good. But I do think it should be pretty competitive with them. Certainly looking forward to doing more testing in it. I want to get some more dedicated speed work in, long run in, that kind of thing. Enjoyed my first run in the Azura, one to look out for sure, and yeah, a pleasing addition, I'd say, to the Saucony lineup, even if there's certainly a part of me that wishes Saucony had put it out a couple of years ago instead of this year.
So there you have it. That's been our first run look at the Saucony Endorphin Azura. We will now go off and log the requisite test miles to bring you the full review. We'll test it across a range of paces, different kind of efforts, and bring you our final verdict, multi-tester verdict, when we've done the right amount of miles. Hope you found this useful. If you have any questions about the shoe that you want us to test whilst we're out there, drop us a note in the comments. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. That really helps us. If you're interested in sort of super daily trainers, I'm going to pop a video up on the channel you should go and watch now. Otherwise, as ever, thank you very much for stopping by and spending time with us, and until next time, happy running, people.